Proud Arts. Proud Arts.
Hey guys, we're going to do hands-on with the new Unreal Engine 5. This is the early access version, and we're going to check out the new Nanite. If you've seen the teaser videos, you know the Nanite technology is absolutely amazing. It's a game changer. What the Nanite allows you to do is import meshes and then turn on Nanite. And when you turn on Nanite, it will use Unreal's new technology. Here's some of the benefits of Nanite. This is from the documentation on the Unreal Engine site. And you can see here's one of the biggest. Frame budgets are no longer constrained by poly counts, draw calls, or mesh memory. Amazing. And Nanite is essentially this is what I think sums it up the best. This is a Nanite mesh is essentially a triangled mesh at its core. So just a regular mesh, which we're going to look at, with a level of detail compression applied to it. It's data. So you get a regular static mesh. It processes it, puts some data on top of it. You'll see the static mesh. If you imported a 500 meg static mesh, after you turn on Nanite, it'll be 500 and maybe 501. So it puts a little data on top of it. But the really big thing is it says Nanite uses an entirely new system for rendering that data format in an extremely efficient way. And that's the key right there. They've done an entirely new system, and they have. But we're going to see, how good is it? Is it as good as that they show? Can you really put in unlimited polygon high detailed models and not hit your frame rate? Right here it says during import, meshes are analyzed and broken down into hierarchical clusters of triangled groups. So if you wondered how does that new Nanite work, well, it says it right there. It breaks it down into clusters of triangled groups. It'll stream those groups in and out. So the clusters, and right here, clusters are swapped out on the fly at varying levels of detail based on the camera view. So as you zoom in, you'll see the clusters, and we're going to look at that together. Data is streamed in on demand, so only visible details needed to reside in a memory. Nanite runs on its own rendering path that completely bypasses traditional draw calls. Phenomenal. Totally rewritten there. All right, let's go ahead and jump in and get started and check out our models. We have two Ferraris here. Now this Ferrari is 14 million triangles, almost 15 million triangles. Now if you put that in your scene, you're going to slow down so much just for that one car. So you could imagine if you had a scene with a lot of highly detailed models like that, it would bring your computer to a crawl. 1 frame per second, it'd probably crash. So what we did is, once we import it, when you import it, there's a checkbox you can import and say, hey, import it as Nanite, or you don't have to. You can just import it just like you do in Unreal Engine 4, which is what we did here. And so once it was imported, we simply made a duplicate of it. And then once you make a duplicate of it, you can right click on any static mesh and go to Nanite at the top. You might not be able to see it, and you just click on enable. And then once you enable it, it takes a little while, and then it creates it. And you can look on it here. You see the triangles, 2,000 triangles versus 14 million. But it's still going to use the original static, highly detailed static mesh when you get up close to it. So let's go ahead and test it out. Let's see if it really does work, and it will be amazing. Take a look at the frame rate. We got about 120. We're going to drop in the Ferrari. Okay, we have our Ferrari in, and you can see the frame rate has plummeted to 9 frames per second. Definitely unplayable, and that's 15 million polygons. So you can see the incredible detail of it. These are the fuel injectors. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull this out of here. We're going to put our Nanite car in there and see what frame rate we get and see how the detail is. So we delete our car, and you look back at the frame rate, and it jumped back to 120. So now let's put it in our Nanite car. Okay, so now we have our Nanite car in, and you can see the frame rate at still over 100. That's totally phenomenal just to start off with. Before, you wouldn't be able to play the game, a model with that high detail. Now, one thing you will notice is the materials are different from each car. You can't have too complex of materials, and there's on that documentation it tells you specifically what types of materials you can use. I believe on there it says you can't have transparency, so you can see how the windows, you can't see through those. You can't have glass. They're still working on it, but as of now, you have to be careful, what you can use the Nanite on. It can't be used on anything, because if you had to have transparency, you wouldn't be able to use it on there, or if you had to have certain types of materials. As we zoom out and then zoom in, let's see how the detail looks. Okay, so we're inside the engine, and we're going to check out the detail. You can see the bolts, you can see the nuts, the locking washers. Yeah, so it's as you get closer and closer, it's the exact same detail. So this is definitely the most incredible technology I've seen from Unreal yet. This is definitely high tech right here. And so we're going to zoom back out, and we're still at 100 frames. So let's put in another Nanite car and see what happens. So we're going to duplicate this one, and then we'll duplicate this one. So we're still over 100 frames. And if we had put these three cars in at 15 million polygons, I don't think we would have been able to. I think it probably would have crashed. Smoothly at 100 frames per second with 100% of the detail. As of now, it looks like you can even see the threads on the screw right there. So it still has full detail. So the only problem it has now is, and what they're working on, and this is early access, this is all new stuff, but the material. Let's duplicate some more cars and see how many we can get in here and see if it starts slowing down. So we're going to highlight these three cars, and then we're going to make duplicates of these, and then we'll make duplicates again. Okay, so we have 21 cars, and we're at 90 frames per second. So it definitely, what they were saying that the Nanite could do, it's true, and it is amazing. So now if we get close, we can see the full 100% detail, and then when we back away, it automatically sets the detail levels through that clustering that they use. If you go to where it says lit right here, you can go to Nanite visualization, and they have a bunch of different visualizations, but the two that I thought was the coolest was, one is triangles, and you can see the triangles, and you can actually see how the automatic level of detail, how it does. So if you get closer, you see the clusters, and you can see, it shows you a visualization of how they're doing the polygons. And so if we back away, you can see how that just kind of clusters them together. Get closer, you can see the details start to come until you get all the 100% of the detail. And so let's go to triangles, and let's do the clusters, and you can see how it's clustering all the polygons together. Get further and further back. Yeah, totally amazing technology. This is for programmers, for developers. This is going to make their life so much easier because there's so much work that went into polygons and trying to set the LODs if you've ever had to work with them. So this technology is going to make life so much more easy. Like this Ferrari, for instance, it's 15 million triangles. You wouldn't be able to use that. So what you'd have to do with Unreal Engine 4, what you'd have to do is open up your static mesh. And so this one has 15 million triangles. And let's say you wanted to get it down enough where you could put it in the game, let's say 30,000 or 50,000 triangles. You could go into the static mesh, you open it up, and then you can go to where it says reduction. And inside here, you can change the triangles, a percentage of the triangles, like say 10% or 20%. But even if you change it to that, it'd still be over 1 million triangles. And then what would happen is it would reduce this, and it would look very blocky. It actually looked terrible, not even presentable to put into the game. It would look so bad. In Unreal Engine 4, to have a highly detailed model like this, you couldn't put it in. But now with the Unreal Engine 5 and the Nanite, you can do it. It's incredible. And it makes it so much easier because now you can import your static mesh, turn on or enable the Nanite, and just start dropping the cars into the scene as easy as that. So the good thing about Nanite and how they implemented it into the engine is you can use static meshes just like you've always done. But then you also have the option to turn that static mesh into a Nanite mesh and use it that way to get an incredible performance out of highly detailed models. I'm sold on this. I'm happy with the way that Unreal Engine's going. Epic just continuously pushes the bounds of this engine, and it's great to be a part of it as a small indie developer. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you tried it? Have you checked out the new Unreal Engine 5 Nanite technology, and what do you think? Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day.